Soul 3, a realistic epic fantasy adventure by J.N. Wdowski. Note: for your full enjoyment, be sure to read or listen to the end and continue to the next chapter. Chapter 34. Kia led the leadership into the abandoned mayor's home, where she had set up her base of operations. Her chariot driver had returned from meeting the pharaoh. He had returned a few days ago, not only with 5 wagons of foodstuffs and livestock, but also an additional squadron of Anubis chariots. Dale requested Richard the farmer to join their meeting at the house. Richard had returned with 500 more homesteaders, cattlemen, hunters, and farmhands from the eastern settlements and towns. He had unintentionally established himself as a leader among them. Late afternoon, they gathered around the large dining room table in the home that had been wantonly destroyed by the Goric occupation. Many of the dining room chairs were repaired by Anubis carpenters that accompanied the wagons. The large table was able to seat all of them. Kia sat at one end of the table, near the kitchen, to direct the Anubis kitchen staff to bring out a hot meal for them. She gave Dale the seat at the opposite end of the long table from her. Dale was not crazy about having his back to the entrance of the dining room. Chopson sat on his right, Zup on his left. On Zup's left was Josh. On Chopson's left was Tradesman, then Richard the farmer. Pete sat across from Richard on Kia's right. The sun still shining, Pixa hovered near the bay windows of the dining room, just off to the right of Dale. "We need more steel," Kia started the meeting. "Tradesmen only brought enough to rearm my original company of spearmen and archers. I need steel for the charioteers and their archers." "We may not even need to fight," Tradesman responded. "You told us she wants us not to get involved. This is only between the Neathtons and her." Zoop turned angrily at Tradesman sitting across the table. "You believe you will not be next? Typical humans." Dale looked sternly at Tradesman. "She will not stop with the Neathtons. Her promises are hollow. Zup is correct. We will be next. Yet it will be worse for us." "How so?" questioned Richard, siding with Tradesman. "She wants humanity to flourish once again, like our ancestors had before." "You were not at the sulfur mine, Richard." Dale turned to Tradesman. "You were. You should know better. Those pitiful human slaves that threw themselves onto your spears are what she plans for humanity." With the sun low in the western sky, the shaft of sunlight allowed Pixa to approach closer to the table. "I was there with Dale. She wants worse for your kind than those wretched slaves. She wants you to revert to your darkest, most perverse, sadistic natures. It is what she feeds on. Evil is what she needs. Neathtons are not prudish about their bodies as humans are. Nudity to them is merely their natural state. They do not have shame or arousal from it, as men do." "True," Zup agreed with her. "Yet some of our nobles can have unconventional sexual appetites. Nothing like humans, though," she continued. "They do not engage in the sexual debauchery mankind is capable of." "The Neathtons are actually our salvation against her," Dale explained to Tradesman and Richard. "If she can remove them, she will dominate us with ease. I am not talking about us merely losing our prudishness about public nudity, or even accepting their casual attitudes toward sex. Those are not enough for her. They are too tame for what she wants. With humans, she will unleash our darkest perversions, sadomasochism, bestiality, even incest. Stirring in us our desires for only physical pleasure and the cruel enjoyment of tormenting others, she will destroy our families from the inside out. Love, caring, creating healthy families are the foundation of our civilization and our future." Pixa became extremely serious, flying closer to the two men, risking exiting the shaft of sunlight. "She will feed on your wretched souls." Dale added, "I felt her allure, her seductive powers. I also saw the evil in her eyes when she turned to Pixa." Dale looked frightened. What she has planned for us is much worse than the human slaves at the sulfur mine. To save ourselves, we must help the Neathans, or we are all doomed. I fear she will turn us into twisted souls." The table went silent. Chopson broke the silence and turned to the men on his right. "You both did not read the letter from Marcus." "What letter?" asked Tradesman and Richard. "It is where we found the firearms my party carries. Marcus left them for us. More importantly, he left us a library." Dale decided to reveal what they found to the others. "Yet, I ask you not to let this information leave this room. Do I have your word?" "You have my word, Dale." Tradesman placed his fist over his heart. Richard nodded his head in agreement. "As you do mine." Pete also promised. "Of course, Dale." Dale looked at Zia for her pledge before he was willing to continue. She touched her forehead with her right hand as she bowed her head slightly in agreement. He took a deep breath before explaining. "We found a shelter. Within it was not only the firearms, much more importantly, we found a library. Upon the library wall was a letter. It was written by a man called Marcus Weston. He was from the time of the Grand War. He built the shelter and left us the library to help humanity rebuild. In the letter, he warned us how mankind destroyed itself from within. It was their unhampered lust, greed, jealousy, envy, and perverse ideals of creating a utopia based on selfish pleasures, at any cost. Lucifera wants humanity to revert back to those dark times." Kia had said nothing during the whole exchange. She finally responded. "I do not know how well you know my people's history, but it was the darker monsters of humanity that nearly wiped us out millenniums ago. We used to live in harmony with mankind, but something changed in your people. Before you did turn against each other in those long, nearly forgotten times, you first turned against all other races, including my people. To escape men, we withdrew from the world and entered a deep hibernation. For 8,000 years we slept as man ruled the world. We did not dare to re-emerge until your grand war decimated your civilization. Mankind is still the reason we hide behind our high walls." "You fear us?" Richard was surprised, having lived outside their walls all his life. "Yes, very much so," she replied in all seriousness. She looked across the table to Dale. "We are aware of the devastating evil, if unbridled, men can inflict on others, and upon each other." Zoop spoke up. 4,000 years ago, during the time of your ancient golden age, your kind saw us as playful, harmless woodland creatures. You thought of us as the children of Mother Gaia. Some of your people paid homage to us and left us offerings in your deep woods. But then your civilization also began to rot from within, engaging in orgies of lust, gluttony, and torture. Humanity entered your dark ages. It was then you turned against us and forced us to also seek refuge in a deep hibernation. Zup's face softened as he addressed Dale. "We worry about humanity regaining world dominance and reverting back to your darker, destructive, selfish natures. It is why my people have always attempted to keep humans at a distance. What you thought was our arrogance and contempt for your kind was actually our deep-rooted fears of you. Yet, you, Dale, have given me the confidence that humanity does have the capacity for great goodness and to achieve great things." "I agree," confirmed Pixa. "And I," Josh joined in. "Granted, the great author has written the duality of man, his nature for good and evil, but you, Dale, exemplify mankind's better angels. I fear I am not as good and pure as you are all painting me out to be." Disappointed in himself, Dale sat back in his chair. Leaning away from the others, he confessed, "She did tempt me. She did arouse desires for hedonistic pleasures that I did not even know I had. I am not proud of how she How she nearly unlocked monsters deep inside me. That fact proves you do have what it takes, Pixa responded, flying to him, yet remaining in the shaft of sunlight. Your ability to overcome your primal urges is what makes you different. Yes, you are just a man, but you are not your ancestors. You are better than they were, Dale. Kia lifted her hand, stopping her kitchen staff from entering the dining room. She turned to them, speaking in ancient Egyptian. They bowed their heads and returned to the kitchen with the serving plates and bowls filled with food. They closed the door behind them. Kia leaned into the table towards Dale. Like any other mortal being at this table, you are fallible. We all know you are not perfect. For years I always felt he wasn't perfect, but as I have gotten older I feel Dale has gotten wiser, Pete injected. Kia gave Pete a disapproving glance for interrupting her, forcing him to sit back to only listen as the adults talked. Having silenced Pete, she looked back to Dale. Yes, you are not perfect, but you are a good man. Unlike most, you do not deny your faults. You are painfully aware of your shortcomings, yet strive to overcome them. In our culture, that is the sign of greatness. A true hero is aware of his fears, yet still does what needs to be done. Those who feel no fear are not heroes, but mere fools. Dale, I have learned you are no fool. I could not withstand the dark fairy's song. She had me completely under her spell. You, though, were able to break her hold on you, Dale. Josh agreed with Kia. The great author has written you to be a noble protagonist. Dale sat up. Looking at all their supportive faces at the table, he could not help but grin. Thank you. Thank all of you. Not wanting to get too sentimental, he turned the meeting back to the issue on hand. She will not attack us. She will not attack East Riverton. She is convinced she can seduce humanity. But she doesn't understand that we are stronger than our ancestors were. I feel we are indirectly the true offspring of Marcus, and not those of his time that destroyed and rotted us from within. Dale paused for a moment as he looked around the table, seeing humans from different communities, an Anubis, a Quardtron, a Neathton, and a fairy, all of them listening to him attentively. Because of you, and our alliance with your peoples, mankind will rise to this challenge. Lucifera will not succeed in seducing us and reverting us back to our most primal and evil nature. That was kinda cringe. Pete spoke up again only to have Kia snarl at him disappointingly. Nervously, he quickly added, "Yet, I completely agree with your sentiment." Kia stopped her low growling towards him. Please continue to Chapter 35. To support the author, please like, share, comment, and subscribe.